Hi, my name's Neil. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me. In my quest to learn some new skateboarding tricks before I get too old and too inflexible, I decided that I had better start trying to learn how to do some proper backside airs. I skate vert ramps now and again, and obviously one of the most common tricks for people to learn to do on a vert ramp is a backside air. Now, I've been doing some really terrible early grab kind of squat things for quite some time, and I've long felt like they're a road to nowhere. That bending down and grabbing, that early grab thing, it just kills all your speed and just doesn't feel like it's going in the right direction. I think a lot of people get away with doing those, and even younger kids tend to learn that way because they're a lot lighter and their body weight just isn't there. So I don't think they feel themselves sacking against the wall quite in the same way that somebody of my size and body weight does. So yeah, I'm sure an awful lot of it is down to technique, but I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube about learning backside airs, and all of them really suggest that early grab squat things are just not really the right way to go about it. So before I get to doing decent backside airs, I really need to learn how to do backside ollies. And the idea there is that the kind of more modern way of doing backside airs is a slight pop, a slight ollie into the air, and then you grab it. Now, back when backside airs were first invented, it was more a case of just going really fast up a vert wall and kick turning. Eventually you start to go very light and weightless, and that turns into an air.
You go up, you try to get a grind, you try to do wheelers, you start doing tail taps. The progression of it is you're gonna come in hot to the coping, going a little too fast, and you're gonna bonk off, and the backside is born. And off to the races we all went. Well, not me, because I was a fetus. It was the 70s. It was all about getting down, going high. Is there even credit for the first backside guy? Like, do you know? You're probably...
It all started with the hippies. Hippies were the first ones to take to the air, I think, right? But
I want to know who that was, because there's still 5 people saying they were the first ones to do that.
It was probably sequentially invented in several spots at the same time.
Everybody wants to talk about TA's frontside air and how wonderful and stylish frontside air, man. And I don't care. I don't even like it. The backside is where it's at, man.
the backside is where we got bio.
Yeah, bionic. Steve Austin, $6 million man.
Part weapon. All bionic.
The tricks are numerous. A favorite is backside airs. Here's a string of them. Every one has a little different style, but the goal is the same, getting bionic.
So a more traditional way of learning backside airs is to just do kick turns on the vert wall and start grabbing as you kick turn, and the faster and the more weightless you get, you start to take off. But as I said, the more modern way to learn is more of an ollie and a pop rather than perhaps a more sort of traditional pool skater style.
From the Sears team, David, the Raver on track, on board.
I never practiced it. I had no idea. Next thing you know, I was just dropping in. I'm hitting the face wall at 100 miles an hour, going, what are you gonna do? So I just hit the top and flew, and I crashed. I almost made the first one. And of course, everybody in the crowd's going crazy. So I get my board, I run back to the top, push, push, push. And I made, the next thing you know, I go up on the other side, I do an andirect, but my hand came off, but I tucked it in and I made it somehow. And then I finished up my run, and the next thing you know, I'm like going, okay, I'm done.
It's not a light comment to make the day bio. Like, I mean, it's a fucking literally one run, and the entire fucking game changed.
So anyway, that's the path that I'm embarking on and going to try and go down. And what's really inspired me to go this way is watching Mitchie Brusco's SkateIQ videos. Now, if you're a skateboarder learning to skate these days, you probably watch a lot of YouTube videos. Heck, that's probably why you're here now. You're watching YouTube videos about skateboarders. So you're probably aware of the SkateIQ YouTube channel. And if you're not, just briefly, it's Mitchie Brusco, who is a professional skateboarder, very well known for doing vert skating and mega ramp skating. I think he was the first person to do a 1260, which is 3.5 turns, I think, 3.5 spins on a vert ramp, which is insane.
He's got it. Oh my gosh! Mitch, he just lands the... What is going on?
But yeah, he's an incredible skater, and he's doing this YouTube channel basically teaching people what he knows. And I'm going to link to some of his videos below that are pretty much inspiring me to be learning to do these backside airs, backside ollies.
Let's start by doing just some small backside ollies. Okay, and you can do that just as high as you're comfortable. Oh, let's see an ollie. Okay, it's not bad. It's not bad, but I can help you for sure. Don't bend down so much. Just a little bit. That's better. Okay, so an ollie isn't about just jumping high, okay? An ollie is gonna be a lot about, watch my head. My head doesn't have to move that much, and I can pick my board up a lot, right? So an ollie isn't always about jumping high. It's just about being able to pick up the board. Don't bend, you're bending down like this much. So you just bend down just a little bit and try to pop from there. See, it's not that crazy, right? It's not that hard. Go to that place that you're a little bit kind of no man's land, where you feel a little bit awkward, and try to pop just like that. Now let's imagine that we're gonna do it just like that, but we wanna grab. I don't want you to bend down to the grab too much. I want you to lift that leg into it.
I get that like for frontside ollies and then grabbing frontside air.
Uh-huh.
But then when I do it backside, it's like almost I couldn't get my like legs to come up so that I can grab it without having to bend down.
A lot of people have that issue. Let me show you something that really helps. If you stand like, come stand here, like on this line, and you're regular. So you lift your left leg up this way. Okay, there's the melon. Can you grab right here?
Yeah.
You feel how you don't have to lean over for that too much?
No.
Okay, if you pick your foot up back here, then it's really hard to get to.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you pick it up here, that melon is actually not that far away. I'm gonna show you a few. So here's the backside ollie. Okay, and then if you wanna grab, you see how it's not that far away? Backside ollie, melon, right? It gets hard when you get like this. You see the difference? Versus, you don't have to pop like this. It doesn't have to be that strong. It can be a light little tiny pop. Close.
So anyway, to cut to the chase, this beginnings of what I'm doing, I need to learn to do backside ollies, and I'm terrible at ollies anyway. I stopped doing ollies back when I stopped skating in the mid-90s. If you don't know me at all and you haven't watched my videos before, I used to skate from about 1987 to about 1995, 96, and then I stopped for whatever it is, 25 years, started again 6 years ago. And when I started again, I've only been skating transition, and that's generally just carving around bowls and mini ramps and doing kind of pretty average lip tricks, but I never do anything really much that involves ollieing. I don't ollie, I don't do street skating, so I'm not doing any ledge tricks or anything, any kick flips, nothing that involves ollies really. I think the closest thing I do to an ollie is a frontside disaster and a frontside lip slide, where I kind of pop the coping to do that turn and land on the coping. So for me, this is flat ground ollies. You know, learning to do a backside ollie on a ramp is I have to start by doing some flat ground ollies. So I went to my friend's vert ramp and I was alone skating there. I need alone time to be doing something so basic as this. I can sit there and do flat ground ollies at home or on the street or something, but it's not the same. So I went to my friend's vert ramp by myself and set about learning these ollies. Now let's look at the first bit of footage and you'll see how terrible they were, but just hang in there and keep watching, because they do progressively get a lot better. So yeah, it started really basic. I can ollie, but they're, this big. And to be fair, that's really all I need to be able to do to be doing them on the ramp. When you do a backside ollie on a ramp, you don't need to be popping like super high. You just need to leave the surface. And then when you get the timing right, you start to float a bit. And if you do an ollie about this high, that's just enough to leave the surface and you start to take off. So that's all I really need. So I'm good with that. However, getting started to just do an ollie and a backside turn was quite amusing. It felt exactly like when I first got back on my board again after 25 years. It felt like that. I felt like a newborn horse trying to stand up for the first time. Yeah, just kick turning and doing little ollie pops. It was terrible. It felt so odd. But given a little bit of time and just the repetition, they started to kind of feel a bit more comfortable, and I started to relax a bit and they started to get a little bit better. All right, now they were starting to get better and I was feeling more comfortable. They were starting to come together. I was going a lot faster and a lot higher up the ramp. So I started to get up to, you can see that sort of ply line where the last sheet of ply begins up to the vert wall. And I was pretty much kind of on that line. So that's good. That's high on the transition. And that's probably about 3 feet high, which is fine for me. Now, it's good to do them on this vert ramp because the ramp is so big and the transition is so gradual that actually you've got loads of time and it feels a lot more spacious. If I was to try the same thing on a 4-foot mini ramp, the transition is so much tighter because it's a small ramp that it feels a lot more cramped. So although I'm only doing tiny little pops, tiny little ollies on this massive, great big ramp, you know, it's like 12.5 feet high, it's still a lot better to be doing them on this ramp than it is something smaller. So the progress is happening and I'm starting to feel good about it and getting up to a decent height. That's the kind of height where I want to start getting better at them. So it's a good start. So that first session was great progress. If you look back at the first couple of clips where I couldn't even pop at all and stay on the board or turn or any of it, to the end of that session, which I think it must have been about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, to the point where I was able to sort of pop them about 3 feet up and stay on a fair few of them. So, you know, things were getting good and I was really happy with the end of that first session. All right, so being totally stoked by what happened in that first session and the progress that I managed to make in just one session, I went back a couple of days later. I wanted to capitalize on the feeling and the kind of muscle memory that I'd built where I sort of remembered how it needed to feel to get it right. So I went back again and pretty much picked up where I left off, but maybe with a little bit more improvement. Perhaps my thinking about it in the meantime made these start to get a lot better, a lot quicker. So I pretty much picked up where I left off and went straight back into them again. Now they seemingly started to get a bit harder to do, and I think my technique was changing slightly. The higher I was getting up the ramp and the more pop, they were getting a bit more floaty, and at that point I was losing the ability to actually land properly and roll away. I was kind of getting away from the board, and this is the point where I think I knew I was going to start struggling. Once you're talking about body weight and where you're leaning and balance while you're getting higher, it all begins to get a lot more difficult. And perhaps I need to just dial it back again and go back to where I was doing the small ones and just keep doing more of those and increment much smaller improvements or height and speed as I go. Perhaps I jumped a bit too far ahead, but I was definitely starting to pop more and float more, but then I wasn't able to turn and come back down again.
feel
Apart
great.
from the fact you didn't land it.
No,
that looked better than any of them I've ever done. Literally, yeah, it just looked like a pro.
It felt right. I think I
done
just
that out of the
ditched
top, you would have been a pro, right? You were floating sideways, but you hadn't over.
Yeah, I think I...
Have you got that on camera?
Yeah. I think I...
You should watch that. I hope it comes out.
That was about the same, so now I just need to put it down.
Now, I think a reason why I wasn't concentrating on turning and coming back again quite so much more is because in Mitchie Brusco's skateiQ videos, he talks a lot about going up the transition in your kind of bent down, ready to pop stance. And as you go up the transition is when you extend your body and start to pump up the wall, which you do anyway. So when you're on a vert ramp, you kind of need to be low as you go through the flat bottom and stand up as you go through the pump and get high to push you up the wall. So it's a case of doing that, so pumping up the wall, but at the same time as you pump is your pop. So you pop out of your pump up the wall. And while doing that, because you've pumped up the wall and popped, what you want to be doing is ollieing up the wall and landing higher up the wall than where you popped. So you don't necessarily want to pop, float up in midair, float down again, and then land pretty much where you popped. What Mitchie talks about is popping lower on the wall and landing higher on the wall to get that takeoff right, to get the timing right and that takeoff right. There's two sides to this. You know, you need to practice doing that, quite literally popping low, landing high. And then the second part of it, when you've got that bit done, is to pop from a height and land lower to practice your landings. So it makes absolute sense when you talk about it like that. And what you'll end up doing is actually meeting in the middle, where you will pop, you'll fly up and float and do a nice big air, grab the board, and then when you let go of the board and you come back down again, you'll land in the transition and roll away. So by breaking it in half, by popping low, landing high, and then pop high and land low, you can join those two together and eventually you'll have the trick. That's the idea anyway. So as we watch the last bit of the footage there, it doesn't really get much better. I'm just getting better pops and a bit more float, but I'm not really landing it anymore. I'm kind of kicking it away. I'm not able to sort of put my feet down. Part of it is kind of being scared to just put my feet on it and roll away. And part of it is getting away from me a bit. I think I'm leaning over too much and the board is going behind me, which Mitchie talks about in one of his tutorials. He's teaching somebody. There's that whole thing of leaning over too much, when really what you need to be doing is popping, not lean over and try and grab your board or anything. You need to just pop and keep going up, and you bring your legs and your thighs up to you to grab the board. I'm not even into the grabs yet and I'm already bending over too much, so I need to kind of stay straighter and pop up the wall and then try and land on the wall. And you don't even need to rotate. You know, if you pop high and land at an angle, even 90 degrees, you should be able to kick turn or wheel drag out of it and roll away. So you don't need to do a backside ollie 180. You could do a 90, just a 90 degree ollie and land on the wall and then wheel scrape and kick turn away out of it. So there's a lot of work to do, and as I said, in this session it doesn't really get much better than that. It's getting really dark, it's getting hard to see, so sorry for the camera quality at the end here. It's very dark, the camera can't see anything, so I've just turned the exposure up so that you can see what's going on, but there's a lot of distortion and noise in the video.
I'm scared. I almost put my feet down on it. Oh, come on! I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Don't do too much. Oh! I got... So close.
Stay on, that's even better. your pop is amazing. You're just getting inside it, if that makes sense. You're getting underneath it, and so the board flies behind you instead of staying over your heels a bit.
So hopefully you can see where I'm headed. It's going to take a lot longer, but I thought it was good progress from absolutely nothing. And now what I've got to do is just repeat over and over again and try to get better at doing that, and they'll slowly improve. So I'll do another progress update video as soon as there is some progress to report. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you've learned the same technique. I'm sure you've watched some of Mitchie's videos, so tell me what you think some of his best videos are. Tell me if you learned the hard way by doing early grabs. I can do early grabs, but I'm not going to be doing them out the top of the coping like I would want to. Hopefully this way is the way forward, and I'll let you know, but you let me know if you've already been through that and done it yourself. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will catch up with you very soon. Until then, get out there and skate, enjoy yourself, take care.